Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the forum day 3. You're welcome and good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Plenary 9 is what we have this morning. We're going to have Intra-Africa Digital Trade and the Creative Industry for Plenary 9. It's going to be moderated by my friend Arnold Quizera. That is what we're going to start with, and then we would have Plenary 10. Right after that, that will be showcasing of African technology and innovators. African technology and innovators. It's going to be extremely interesting. I can't describe it enough, and I'm sure that you heard from my colleague, or you hear from my colleague Arnold when he comes on, that you can't afford to miss it, and we expect you to stay through to this particular plenary. We will then wrap it up with a closing ceremony that should be around 11:30 thereabout, and we should have about 30 minutes of that. That's the closing ceremony. So by 12 or latest 12:30, we should be heading for lunch, and we would say thank you and bye-bye to all of us. It shouldn't be a tall order. We should leave here by that time, 1:30 latest, and we plead and crave your indulgence to stick with us all throughout. We've had wonderful 3-day event, and we need to climax it well and benefit fully from what we have. I should remind you again that the part that I talked about, the showcasing of Africa technology and innovators, is a very interesting one. There's a lot that you're going to learn from that side, and you can't afford to miss that. In the meantime, we take off with Intra-Africa Digital Trade and the Creative Industry. Since we've been here, we've enjoyed quite a number of music that have originated from the continent. Yesterday at the Nigerian dinner and cocktail, all of us danced to some beautiful music. We enjoyed movies that's coming from the continent, and these days we're enjoying them from all fronts, online and everywhere. It is important to know where we are going as a continent in this direction, and that is why this session is extremely important. We'll have the scene set by Mr. Temwa Gondwe. He's a Director, Intra-African Trade and Export Development, Creatives and Diaspora. Let's put our hands together and welcome him, please. We can do it better, please. Let's put our hands together. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. I know it's Saturday morning, and maybe would have preferred to sleep in rather than be in a conference, but I think we're here for a very important matter. Distinguished delegates, colleagues, to you today at this inaugural AfCFTA Digital Trade Forum on behalf of the African Export-Import Bank and, of course, our President, Professor Benedict Orama. I really want to extend our appreciation to the AfCFTA Secretariat, but also the government of the Republic of Zambia for hosting this strategic and very timely dialogue. As we gather, I think that's better. As we gather to explore the transformative power of digital trade, it is only fitting that we shine a spotlight on one of the most dynamic sectors driving Africa's identity and of economic promise, which is the creative and cultural industries. These industries, anchored in Africa's rich heritage, youthful energy, and digital connectivity, are central to our continent's future competitiveness. At Afreximbank, through our Creative Africa Nexus program, or CANEX for short, we are committed to supporting the integration of creativity and commerce across borders, empowering our creative entrepreneurs to shape new narratives, create jobs, and trade their talent across the continent and beyond. CANEX is Afreximbank's strategic platform to unlock the potential of Africa's creative economy through targeted investments and policy innovation. We work across 6 pillars, and of course, in the interest of time, I will not belabor the point and go into great detail, but we're happy to have that conversation. But in brief, we have a financing component under which we have a $2 billion facility on the debt side. That is loans that or credit that we provide. We have also launched on the equity side what we're calling the CANEX Creations Incorporated. This CANEX Creations Incorporated is an intellectual property holding company. We have established it with the primary mission to support commercialization and protection of African creative works, ensuring that creators across the continent and its diaspora can retain ownership and benefit financially from their intellectual property. In simple terms, it is a venture fund for the creatives economy. We also run a number of capacity building programs. We realized earlier on that God bless the genius that is our creative industries, but our young people mostly learn or hone their talents through the University of YouTube. Through the University of YouTube, we have seen filmmakers, photographers, actors, fashion designers. They just go there, learn, absorb it, and they go out and start, which is the genius of the creative talent that we have on the continent. So beyond that, we still need to have a structured approach to building capacity. So that's why we've created a number of master classes in fashion, in IP, in film, and so on, so that we structure the absorption of skills development. A couple of years ago, we were with a celebrity Hollywood actor who had come here to produce a film. He had brought in to South Africa a whole troupe of engineers, sound engineers, light engineers, post-production, and so on to South Africa. When he landed there, he said, okay, let me sample the talent, the skills that are there in the country. When he sampled and brought them in, within 2 days, you're sending back his own troupe. Because he said, these young people are so talented, they only need a bit of direction. They only need a bit of a master class or a skills developing program, and then they're as good as anyone who's doing this in Hollywood. So we do run those master classes, of course, working with the AfCFTA Secretariat. Policy advocacy is a key issue in the sector. There was a film producer in Egypt who said it was easier to acquire, for a role that required a Mauritian actor, it was easier to acquire the Mauritian from France than it was from Mauritius, because of our strict, migration laws, the lack of harmonization of those laws, movement of people. It was easier for them to get someone from France than it was easier to get from a partner member state of the African Union called Mauritius. So it's those issues that create friction. around creative business that we are working together with the AfCFTA Secretariat to deal with. And of course, IP protection is key to that. And we are proud, I'm proud on behalf of the bank to mention that we are fully committed to the operationalization and establishment of the AfCFTA Intellectual Property Office. This is the key, we believe, together with the Protocol of Digital Trade, that will unlock the creative sector. I like to make it practical, because this is something I work on every day in my career. You have no idea how difficult it is to secure a loan on the back of an intellectual property as your collateral. Okay? Now, to make matters even more difficult, you find that that security is only enforceable in a particular jurisdiction called Nigeria or Kenya or South Africa, or in just one region, and does not apply to another region. It's very difficult. If you go to the US and you go to you file at their library in Congress, you have filed across all those states in the US. Or in Europe, you file your IP, your patent, you have filed across the whole Europe. In Africa, we need the same. We need a central office where you can file, because that will increase the value of the collateral. It will increase the value of the security. When you then go to a financial institution to say, this is my song, or this is my story, this is my script, it then becomes a bankable product. I hope I can get an amen on that. So in essence, under CANEX, we're trying to build a foundation of a digitally connected, financially empowered, and policy-aligned creative ecosystem in Africa. We are at a very pivotal juncture, and I cannot stress that enough. There was a time when it was our coffee. There was a time when it was our commodities that were going out, right? We are now at a time when it is our ideas that are being sold, our intellectual property. It is the same model. The model has not changed. The same model where Africa is the supplier of commodities to the world is the same model that is being applied now, where Africa is also supplying ideas to the world. Much as we make reference to Afrobeats, for example, Afrobeats is not being monetized in Africa. It is being monetized largely, as of today, in the United States. So it's Afrobeats, it's African music, but if you follow the trade data, it is not an African export. We import it. So we have exported Davido, the commodity. He has been put on iTunes, on Spotify, and then we have imported him. The same way we export raw cocoa and we import chocolate. It is the same model. So we are really at a pivotal juncture. Digital platforms have revolutionized how creative products are produced, distributed, and consumed. Yet for Africa to fully harness this revolution, we must align digital trade policy with the realities of our creative entrepreneurs. And I hope that the panel which is coming up will shed more light on that. What I want to say, as I'm getting to the end of my speech, is that we believe that under the AfCFTA, we have a historic opportunity to establish a single borderless market for African creativity, where an animator from Kigali can sell to a studio in Nairobi, a fashion designer in Dakar can ship to Johannesburg, and a singer in Kinshasa can stream to the world. with seamless payments, logistics, and legal protection in place. That is the future AfCFTA is working every day to shape. So as we advance this digital trade agenda, I take this opportunity as well to warmly invite all of you to join us at the Creative Africa Nexus program at the Inter-African Trade Fair 2025, taking place in Algiers, Algeria, from 4 to 10 September 2025. Thank you. You can register through canex.africa. Canex at ITF 2025 will bring together thousands of creatives, investors, policymakers, and industry leaders to network, exhibit, transact, and engage in high-level conversations around the future of Africa's creative economy. We have a world-class Canex Summit. We have live music, film screenings, fashion shows, art exhibitions. We have investor meetings, deal rooms for creative entrepreneurs. And of course, a vibrant marketplace for creative goods and digital content. If you want to meet the who's who in this sector, make your way to Algiers in September. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, delegates, colleagues, Africa's creative and digital future is not ahead of us. It is already here. Let us use the AfCFTA and the power of digital trade to unlock new prosperity for our creative industries and for the continent as a whole. Through Canex, we as AfCFTA stand ready to walk this journey with you, empowering creators, enabling digital commerce, and ensuring that Africa's talent is seen, heard, protected, and most importantly, paid. Thank you, and see you in Algiers.
Thank you very much. Let's put our hands together for him once again, please. Mr. Temwa Ngondwe, Director, Intra-Africa Trade and Export Development, Creatives and Diaspora on Intra-Africa Digital Trade and the Creative Industry. We're going to have the panel come and take over. It's going to be moderated by Arnold Kwezera. Shall we put our hands together and welcome him, please?
Could we clap for ourselves for being here? Pulling off such events is not easy, so again, let's clap for the AfCFTA team for pulling this off. And the amazing doctors, nurses, support staff that have been with us for the past 3 days. Thank you. Allow me to introduce our panel of experts that are going to take us through this quick session. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together again, calling back Mr. Temwa Godwe. He's the Director, Intra-Africa Trade and Export Development, Creatives and Diaspora. To his immediate left, Mrs. Emily Mburu Ndoria. She is the Director, Trade Services, Investment, Intellectual Property Rights, and Digital Trade at AfCFTA. The Secretariat. Ms. Ama Konadu Amaofu Yeboah. She's a creative entrepreneur from AK Consulting. And last but not least, Mr. Chewe Peter Chilufuya. He's the Deputy Register Intellectual Property and Patents from Zambia. And Mr. Wisdom Kalenga, he is from GIZ, Zambia Technical Trade Policy Advisor. I'll be your moderator, Arnold Kwizera from Kigali. Our panelists, giving you maximum 2 minutes for any answer or question that we throw away. We want to make this quick and straightforward. We have an innovation challenge coming up straight after this. Mr. Temwa, I want to start with you. You set the pace for us earlier, so hopefully you can make us run. Now, the digital trade transforming the creative industry in Africa, right? It has come up, we're seeing NFTs. You've talked about us exporting the likes of Davido, but not getting much back from this. There's a reason as to why we're not getting a lot back from this. There are barriers structurally. What are the two major bottlenecks, and how do we overcome them?
Is this working? Okay. No, thank you very much for that question. I think when we look at the role of digital trade in the creative space, it is there to remove a lot of the traditional barriers to market access and enabling creatives to reach global audiences instantly. Whether you have an AfCFTA or not, Netflix is on our phones across the continent. That's what digitization can do. It's instant breakthrough across the traditional trade barriers as we know them as trade experts. My background is trade facilitation. So you have fashion designers in Dakar, in Nairobi, musicians, they are accessing these digital platforms and instantly breaking through barriers. But you're right, some challenges persist. The challenges would include limited access to financing for digital infrastructure, the fragmented IP protection across different jurisdictions, and we know that the AfCFTA IP office is going to do a great deal to deal with that. We have gaps in terms of digital literacy. We have and this applies especially to our young people and creatives. There's a lot of digital illiteracy. And the cost of connectivity remains very high. It is still expensive to access digital platforms. So to unlock this, I think we need targeted financing, better IP enforcement, digital upskilling, and stronger intra-African digital platforms. Right now you have in different regions entrepreneurs creating digital platforms, but they're still operating in silos. We need to have a platform of platforms that provides that highway for digital connectivity. And that is something that we're working on under our Canex.Africa platform. I'll stop there because I know my fellow panelists also have got other ideas. Thank you.
I want to bring a creative into the conversation, Emily, before I come to you. Anna, he has talked about a platform for platforms, but you're facing these challenges on a day-to-day basis. You have tried to do stuff here. You've done stuff in the West as well. Where is that bottleneck, and what are the practical solutions you think could help you to be able to tap into Africa as a continent?
Thank you. Yes, I think that a lot of the challenges are around access. I would agree. Financial resources are huge. Access to tools to create, whether it's software for editing or equipment for filming, if we're speaking about film and television, or even for music production, simply access to proper recording equipment, things like that. And then stuff like, and I'm not the tech person, but stuff like, there are issues with security, and so in some countries in Africa, you're not even able to access some of the systems that exist or that are used to upload content, or that are used to promote content and certain things like that. So really removing some of those barriers would be extremely helpful. Finding ways to finance and fund the talent that exists on the continent and to monetize it within Africa, because yes, so much of it is monetized in the US and in the UK or Europe as a whole, and we are the talent and deserve to monetize and to keep that money for ourselves and for our nation.
Thank you, Anna. Emily, IP, and the policies around IP, right? The Western world started IP as far back as the 1830s, 1840s. Africa was just playing catch up. Our creatives are even farther back. What policies could be put in place, are already in place, should be in place to ensure that the protection of the creatives work, but also to enable it to scale at the same time?
Thank you very much, moderator, and good morning, everyone. I think for me, one of the key things, and I'll start from the point of why are we here today? It's because of digital trade. So how is digital trade bringing out the creative industry? And I know Temo has actually put it out there for us to see how is the creative industry important for us. And so because of that importance and the digital trade then changing the way we consume these services, the creative industry as a whole, we then need to protect it. And that is where what Tema talked about, let's even call it the AfCFTA, Afreximbank Intellectual Property Office, that is to be established to protect the creatives that is coming out of the work we're doing. We will be hearing from the innovators very soon. And what are the creatives that they have come up with? And how do we ensure that we protect that? Under the AfCFTA, there is a lot of work that has been done. And this is in terms of even having a protocol that is specific for intellectual property rights. So we have already gone ahead to look at how do we protect what is created. And so the office is actually an enforcement office, but the policy documents have already been established, and we are now at the point where we are working on having set annexes that will be looking at the different areas. When I say set annexes, we have an annex that will be looking at copyrights. That is the most important one when we are talking about the creatives. There is also patenting that we are going to have an annex that is going to look at how do we protect the patents that our different young people, especially, let me say young people because they are the ones that are mostly in the creative industry. I was just looking at my fellow panelist, and look at her, the way she is dressed, the way her earrings, the creativity that has gone to designing the earrings, the creativity in designing her dress. How do we ensure that the designers are actually protected, that the designs that they have are protected and can be monetized through the different platforms that we have, that we can have a different perception of what the creatives do, because most of the time it's not even infrastructure, it's not lack of financing, but it's the perception that we all have, especially in Africa, of what creatives can do and what is the creative economy and how important it is to us. And it is really part of what we do in terms of promoting our culture. You see, so we really need to change our perception. We really need to see what these young people are doing in terms of even TikTok. You know, the other day I had stayed for a long time without going to Nairobi City. So I went to Nairobi City on I think it was a Sunday, and I was actually amazed. We had all these young people actually doing TikTok and doing some short films on the streets. You know, because Sunday, there isn't so much traffic. So they were on the streets, they were just doing their thing. And I couldn't believe, I said, this is the change. And, you know, as I don't want to call myself old per se, but, you know, a bit older, it's usually quite difficult to change your perception that what are these young people doing, wasting time, they should be reading and all that. But there they were actually looking for ways to make money. And it's really part of what us as policymakers need to take into account and see how do we promote them and how do we support them. And that is what CANEX, or what their Freximbank through CANEX is actually doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emily. I want to bring Mr. Chewe into the conversation regarding patents. One, what is Zambia doing in that regard, and what can be, not copy-pasted, but what could be shared across the continent?
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. So, a bit of a correction. So I'm the Deputy Registrar, Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Patents and Companies Registration Agency, which is the Zambia Intellectual Property Office. So we are charged with the responsibility of registering and protecting intellectual property rights in Zambia. So it's broader than patents, and particularly in relation to creatives, we also administer copyright and related rights. So the Zambian story when it comes to intellectual property is that, firstly, what we have done is to bring together all intellectual property rights into one institution for ease of administration. And we also belong to international bodies which bring together countries that share the same values insofar as intellectual property is concerned. So right here, just across at the old building, was inaugurated the Africa Regional Intellectual Property Organization, ARIPO, in 1976, which brings together African countries whose main aim is to promote intellectual property. So we pull together our resources and our capacity to ensure that we promote intellectual property rights, and we bring about, or we ensure that it flowers, it springs to flower all our capacities insofar as supporting the creatives are concerned. So as a country, what we're doing is that we are revising our intellectual property laws to make sure that they are responsive to the needs that the creatives currently have. You realize that what currently is seen, or what currently creativity is different from how it was previously. how content is created is different from how it was created previously. My sister from AfCFTA has spoken about the age gap between where she is and probably where I am right now and where the creatives are below me. Films used to take longer. Now if you want to capture the young market, you have to shorten your content, which is why TikTok is doing so well. News is no longer how long we used to take. I would watch news for an hour. That's too long for my 9-year-old son. He wants it shorter. So as a creative, if you want to catch the attention of the young market, you have to make it shorter. So for us as policymakers, for us as implementers of government policy, what we have to do is to ensure that our laws are responsive to what currently is necessary, one. And not only laws, but we also ensure that there are tools that back up the implementation of that law. From Exim Bank, I think Mr. Gondwe had spoken about how intellectual property can be used as collateral for access to credit. In Zambia, we have a law, the Movable Property Security Interest Act, which makes it possible for someone to pledge as security an intellectual property right, and they're able to borrow from a bank. So that is one of the things that we've done. We said, look, a young person might not have a house or any landed property for them to borrow, but what they have is an idea. The expression of that idea, if reduced into an intellectual property right, can then be presented to a financier and say, look, this is what I have. Can you lend me money? And that is what we believe will help us move into the next stage of our development, because our young people, our creatives might not have the capital, might not have the traditional forms of security that enables one to get credit, but what they have are ideas. And what we've done as an institution, what the government of the Republic of Zambia has done, is to be able to see the opportunities and then provide the tools, the law, and the capacity for those young people, for the creatives, to be rewarded. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chewe. I want to bring Mr. Wisdom into the conversation, and Anna, feel free to dive in as well. Similar question. The issue about regarding digital literacy, capacity building, and skills development, the myth around that is that the creative industry is not as lucrative. However, technology has evolved, and the new businesses now. What digital tools, capacity building skills development, and maybe overall awareness creation are necessary to change that perspective, empower young creatives to take advantages of this digital trade under AfCFTA? And Anna, just to extend to that, how are you creatives taking advantage of that? Wisdom first.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. I think before I get to your question, I had the privilege when I walked in this morning, the first person I met, even before he knew that I'll be on the panel, he brought to me something interesting. He asked me, why is it that the organizers didn't think about according the creative industry? He didn't define them that way, but he talked about those into crafts. Why didn't they give them access to an open market outside this conference center? Because he noted that it's a missed opportunity for the creative sector in that category. From Tuesday, actually, we've been here since Tuesday. If the creative industry, say the crafts and others, had open market outside, by now they would have been empowered. By now, we would have sensitized them about what is happening in this context and the rest of the continent. So that brings to me issues of sensitization, which you allude to. We have had a missed opportunity. I think going forward, when we have similar events, let's be inclusive to this category. So talking about inclusion and capacity building, I think when you look at the diverse categories of the creative industry, there's also a divide we are talking about inclusion, but there's exclusion which takes place already. Most of what has been said here, you would acknowledge that it targets, if here in Zambia we'll say the line of rail, or the urban people, the urban talent. But these are not the only ones who have perfect talent. We have the rural marginalized talent. And actually those have the raw and real talent, which needs to be identified and harnessed. So even when we talk about capacity building, we need to have a multi-layered approach at national level, at continental level. We have to identify those who are excluded and have opportunities for them tailor-made, and we know that in the next 5-10 years, these will come up and fill the gap at national level, and then we'll be ready to export within the continent and boost intra-African trade. Those who are able to use TikTok and other tools present may not even be along the line of rail, may not be actually in the rural areas, but basically along the line of rail. So capacity building is key. Here in Zambia, we've had opportunities to identify talent. The government of Zambia, working with the institutions of higher learning, such as the University of Zambia and an institute which trains journalists and such skills, they've come up with what is called a talent factory, which actually is sponsored by I think Mouth Choice. It's been in existence for a number of years. Within that context, capacity has been built, but as I have said already, the demand is so huge. We need to scale up such interventions and be able to address especially the young people who have abundance of talent which remains untapped. Thank you.
Thank you, Wisdom. Anna.
Thank you. Yeah, so I would add that I think we really need to have mentorship and workshops to first identify the talent that is untapped, and then to really make sure that that talent is being cultivated, and that they have the tools and the resources, and that they have a model to see this person was able to successfully achieve what I want to do or what I'm looking to do and achieve. And now I have this model, and the model is someone from Africa. The model is not someone that's in Europe or the US, and it's okay to have those models, but there are so many here on the continent, and I think that it's important for us to tap into what you were saying earlier about changing that mindset. And I mean, me as an African woman, my father was an engineer, and I was told, go to law school, go to med school, and it wasn't until he could see the possibilities to make money and to monetize my creativity that he accepted it. And it's like, oh, okay, this is a lucrative industry, and there's so much that we need to tap into. And I think along those lines, it's important for us to advocate for stronger, more profitable monetization models so that creators can actually build livelihoods and not just visibility. We have visibility, we may not have the visibility that we want and at the level that we want it, and at the same time, it's really important for us to build a livelihood, because it's not fair for all of the time and training and energy that creatives put into their work for it to be expected to be done for free. And that's often what is happening in the creative industry, is that, oh, that's just your hobby. Do this thing for free, that's your passion project. It is a career, and it should be treated as such.
No more exposure, pay for exposure. Temo, I see you want to dive in, but just before you dive in, I'm quickly going to move on, and maybe your insights could be there as well. In your opening remarks, you talked about being very actionable. Emily, feel free to dive in with this one. Emily, you hinted on us being consumers. You're working in Nairobi, people are creating all these TikToks. For China to have TikTok, to have WeChat and the likes, there's some level of protectionism that they had to do and protect their people, right? We don't have the population as individual countries in Africa to do what China did, but we have the numbers as AfCFTA. What are the practical things that could be done to protect creatives, to stop us from being consumers, and to start creating platforms maybe similar or could drive or even better than what we're already consuming?
Thank you very much. I think for me, we have to look at it from the foundation. And when I talk about the foundation, and I think this was brought up also by the Honorable the Excellencies on Mondays and the Honorable Ministers also, the fact that what is being digitized to be traded has to be either a good or a service. So what we are doing under the liberalization process for both goods and services forms the foundation or the work that would then be able to be traded even digitally. So what do I mean by this? We have the negotiations in the case of trading services where we are looking at the liberalization of, say, what we call the recreational, cultural, and sporting sector. We also have the tourism sector that we are liberalizing. And if you look at most of the creatives, it also leads to supporting the tourism sector. And maybe let me just give you an example to put it in perspective. We had in Kenya a few years ago what we called a movie, the film Out of Africa. Because of watching that film Out of Africa, most people then wanted to come to Kenya to see in reality what was in the film. So you see the creative industry, the films, the music, it actually makes people aware of countries. It makes people aware of your culture. And so then it gives us the room for the tourism sector to actually flourish. So what we are doing in those sectors matter. Now, let me move to the financial services sector. If we do not harmonize at the continental level our financial services, and in this case, how money is transferred or how payments are done, then all is in vain because our creators will still not be able to get their monies. So we talk about monetizing, but if we don't deal with the fundamentals, which in this case is the financial services sector, the creators will still not get their money. We talk about the infrastructure. And in this case, so those are the fundamentals and those are the basics that we need to first develop and then harmonize at the continental level to be able to digitize and then support our creators when we talk digital trade. So we still have to go to the fundamentals. Now, there was the issue of rules of origin. If we don't finalize on rules of origin, we talk about fashion. But the creators and the designers in the fashion industry will not be able then to send those garments from one country to another. So we need to deal with our issues of rules of origin to be able to allow for once those, like a dress like what Amma is wearing here. If we need then, she's from Ghana, so let's say to get that dress from Ghana then to Zambia, there is issues of rules of origin. And so if we don't deal with that, even if I see it on the internet, on a platform where they're selling the dress, and I'm not able to get it, then it's all in vain. So we also have to deal with the fundamentals, we have to deal with the foundations. And so to be able to support and actually say that we shall use our local platforms, we first have to develop the fundamentals at the grassroots level. And when we talk grassroots levels here, we are talking first at the national level. We need to look at how do we harmonize the laws and regulations. And that is the only time we shall then be able to speak as one voice under the AfCFTA to say that we are now going to use the, let's say if it's the IP office that we develop at the continental level, that we are going to use that IP office to then be able to say this is how we will protect our creatives, and they no longer then need to go out of the continent to be able to provide their services or to monetize what they have already created. So I think first we really have to do the foundational work, which is to harmonize. And here maybe I will not be doing Afreximbank and justice if I don't mention the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. That is a system that has been developed to make it easier for us to pay in our own local currencies. Yes, on Monday there were issues that were raised in terms of why don't we have one common currency. Now, as we work towards that common currency, which might take some time to get to, we can actually work through PAPs that is using your own local currencies to be able to trade and make it easier for us to trade within ourselves within our own local currencies. So I think the more countries then use the PAPs, or let me say, are able to integrate into the PAPs, the easier it will be for us to connect as a continent and for the payments to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Very passionate, but just to remind you that international brands are shameless when it comes to these patents. They'll pick something from Accra and take it and run with it. Tima, you want to dive in?
Thank you very much, moderator. I think I just wanted to make one comment on the issue of skills development, and then I'll also make a brief comment on what Emil has just been ably explaining. I think I want to put it on record. You know, there's a myth, a long-held myth that even our governments on the continent hold, that the creative industry is not economically viable. That is a lie. You know, this is a viable industry. But this myth comes really, you have to look back even during the time of the transatlantic slave trade. Because as a slave, whatever intellectual property you owned, whether you have sung a song, you have done a skit, whatever it is, was the ownership was with the master. So I think this has been built in for a long period that this sector is not viable. Please, we're putting it on record that that's a lie. Every day, African creatives are monetizing their talents through digital platforms. It is happening. It might be that the stories are not being amplified, but that is why we have platforms like Annex at IETF where we're amplifying these stories. Yes, we must close the digital literacy gap. We must close the capacity gaps. We need what I'm calling structured, accessible programs that train creatives on core digital skills. We know Google is there, that they have put all sorts, if you go on Google, they have put all sorts of training programs. But we need entrepreneurs on the continent that get into this space to provide these skills that are nuanced, customized for the African creative industry, because we're a different breed. We're a different, our landscape is completely different. I've just given that as a business idea to someone. We need access to affordable devices, production equipment, and so on. I think that's a point that previous panelists have also made. And more importantly, is this mind shift change. The creative industry is profitable. It is a career, it is a business, it is, you can only imagine that with minimal support that the industry has received across the board, whether it's from financial institutions, from governments, and so on, they have been able to do what they have been doing, pushing through Nollywood. Music is they get little support, but they've been able to scale up these industries into multiples of billions of dollars. You can only imagine if now that we're coming together, financial institutions, policy organizations, development institutions, and so on, that we're now coming around to support them. You can only imagine the kind of impact that we're going to have. The next comment I want to make is around the dominance of foreign platforms. I think that's the question that you are raising. I think this poses a critical challenge, not only in terms of content visibility and cultural sovereignty, but also in terms of the value capture. Because digital platforms are platforms to capture value. We do not own enough platforms on the continent to capture this value in our books. Most of the value is being captured in the US, in Europe, and China, and other places. So most creatives on the continent now are distributing their creative works through global platforms and not platforms that are owned and run on the continent. So we need to really invest in this infrastructure. We need to invest in this infrastructure. We need to find a framework in which we can grow a platform on the continent or a framework on the continent that provides an ecosystem, an environment, a conducive environment for the growth of these platforms. We need to support content as a continental asset. We have a lot of content. We need our content to be built into the AI models. We need our content to be built into our digital platforms. We need our content as an asset class that can be used to raise capital. We are trying our best. We have a Canex Presents Africa ecosystem where we're working with fashion designers on the continent, connecting them to Paris, connecting them to New York and other markets. We are running right now a Canex Shorts program for short films. Those who have done short films, you can participate in that competition. And if you win a prize. But more importantly, you win onto a contract with an established film house that takes your project. So these are the kind of practical things that we need to do. Number one, in terms of bridging the literacy gap, but also number two, in terms of ensuring that the value is captured on the continent and we're developing platforms on the continent. Thank you.
Thank you. As we take two last questions, just prepare the audience. We'll take two questions from the audience, and then we'll quickly move on. Chewe, bold actions that should be taken by both private and public sector to ensure that digital trade supports not only a thriving but inclusive Africa digital economy.
Thank you very much. Perhaps I could start with a short intervention to add to what Temwa had said. I have a few statistics which I thought would be important to share. Now, when it comes to contribution of the creative arts, 2022 to 2023, the arts and cultural sector in the United States alone grew at more than twice the rate of the total economy. And according to data which was released by the Arts and Cultural Production Satellite Account, which is a product of their National Endowment for the Arts and the Bureau of Economic Analysis, says that the contribution to the US economy of the creative sector was 4.2% of the GDP, and it grew twice as much, and they contributed a total of 1.2 trillion United States dollars. That is a lot of money. That was a lot of productivity which came from this particular sector. And I think Temwa in his ground-setting remarks had given a very interesting perspective where he said that as Africa, we still are exporting raw materials. So if this creative sector contributed $1.2 trillion to the United States economy, from what he said, I picked one particular product that we probably contributed to this. So we exported Davido and we imported his lyrics via the platforms through which we access his content. So I don't have an actual CD which I bought from Nigeria, but if I'm to listen to his music, I'll stream through Spotify or through iTunes, and guess where the money is going. So it is important for us as the African continent to wake up, smell the coffee, and make the necessary adjustments to our policies and to our laws to ensure that we benefit from this particular sector. It is an important sector which is capable of changing the lives of our people. My neighbor here is from Nigeria, and oh, she's from Ghana. Let's imagine she was from Nigeria, but let's say she's from Ghana. She's from Ghana. I haven't been to Ghana yet. I intend to go there by the end of the year. But I know quite a lot about Ghana through content which I've been exposed to. So I know about Nokola Market. I know about the smoke that your men wear. You guys are good at storytelling. How am I able to know about that? It's through the content that you create. And you're so calm. I think it must be something you put in the water that you drink. I'm able to know all that because of the content that the creators churn out to us. But guess what? I don't access that through a Ghanaian platform. I access that content through another platform, which is a Western platform. And if there are any benefits to be derived, those benefits are not flowing to Ghana. So the Gold Coast is getting nothing much out of that, except for the few people that come to sell Kente here in Zambia during our agricultural shows, etc., and through meetings of these sorts. I hope you brought Kente to sell here, hopefully. But generally, the point that I'm trying to make is we need to act, and to act now. Thanks.
Thank you. Wisdom.
Well, there's a lot which has to be done, and as has been established, indeed, sometimes we may want to reinvent the wheel, but we acknowledge the scarcity of resources. It is possible to start with what is available and be able to learn lessons as we've continued learning lessons, and be able to ensure that the creatives industry really flourish. Because for a long time now, you've seen, for instance, if we talk about music, the music industry, those who are, say, my age or even much older, will know how the Congolese market has influenced the world of music through, say, rumba music. And you've seen and you've heard big names from Congo, but most of those musicians have not domiciled within Africa. They've been domiciled in Europe, Paris, France, and Belgium and other countries. But their influence and footprint on the continent remains significant. So there is an evolution that has taken place, and digital trade has played a major role in how they've evolved. You have big names, for instance, like Koffi Olomide. He is a legend, but he's been able to evolve with time, and his music seems to be more appealing even to the younger generation. In the gospel music sector also, there have been other legends, especially from the South African market. But we are able to learn something from there and be able to really move the creative sector forward. Yes, creatives are one mechanism through which we can indeed foster our culture. In Tanzania, for instance, there's something they call Taarab music, and you see it predominantly, say, in Zanzibar and all that, and it's rich in their culture. And this is one way that it can be harnessed and be able to benefit the Tanzanian economy. Beyond that also, we're talking about fashion. Fashion is key across all countries, all member states of the AfCFTA. And indeed, the threat that culture suffers from currently, not only can we talk about investment, financing, and things like that, there's also the challenge of, for instance, the second-hand clothing. What does it do to fashion and design? Does it pose a threat? Does it pose a challenge? So when you promote fashion and design, how affordable will it be for an ordinary person within the country? And then you talk about exporting within the continent. So all these are dynamics which need to be looked at different levels, not just from the creative industry side, but if we talk about second-hand clothing as an example, that takes us out of the creative industries into another sector. So opportunities and challenges which need to be looked at within the creative sector industries may also be addressed proactively within other sectors. Music itself, fashion and all that can also be addressed from the tourism sector broadly. So what synergies are we creating among these industries or sectors to be able to have a holistic approach? And within this context, we then bring on board cooperating partners and we are able to support certain interventions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wisdom. We'll take two questions from the audience, a gentleman and a lady. So we'll take the lady at the front in purple. And the first person to put up their hand was the gentleman at the back. So we'll take the gentleman at the back. Microphones to them, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Peter Chalikosa from Zambia, and my questions mainly go to Miss Emily.
One question. Yes.
It's in the same line though. Okay, so just to give a bit of a background. In hotspot cities like Lusaka, Gaborone, Harare, Kigali, on one weekend, over $1 million is spent on alcohol consumption. And yet you find that in these very same different cities, you find that people would not have the commitment to even pay $10 or $3 for a subscription for 1 month for maybe Spotify or Boomplay, where they can consume African content. Then you also find that many times people are downloading music on platforms where they are getting the music for free, and the sites did not get any permission from the artists to upload the music or even the films on those platforms. So the question that I'd like to ask is, what are your plans to socially condition the African population to consume local content that they would actually pay for? And what recording industry associations, phonographic societies, and motion picture associations in Africa are you working with to legally block piracy and shut down sites that would make money from website traffic and free uploading of content, which they do not pay for or even get permission from artists and filmmakers? Thank you.
Good question. I think Emily shall take that question. Second question, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My name is Agnes Chongo Piri, and I'm wearing the face of President for Heart of Mercy, and also the CEO for Purely Zambian Import and Export Limited. I would like to just appreciate the presenters this morning. It was so informative, and also the insights that now we have answers to the so many challenges that our youth are facing, especially those that have come up with innovation and they do not have a startup capital to be able to monetize their innovation. And most of the times they end up exhibiting this innovation and Secondly, you find that those that are well able actually steal this innovation, and they are now also going into business because they have been exposed to what our youth have innovated. Now, you talked about patent. I'm glad that you will now be revising policy in Zambia as pertaining to patent. I would like to give a short a story of one Katongo who invented a stove which actually operates with gas, electricity, and solar. Though it's outside digital, but I want to see that immediately that innovation came up, somebody else also comes up, it was patent, comes up and says, I've also done this. So I'm glad that you are changing policy. And then the other thing is that we've learned from Mr. Kalenga that a lot of youth are not just in the line of rail, but they are spread countrywide. Some are in the rural parts of Zambia. I would like to now end with Mr. Chewe, how you are going to support our youth that are coming from countrywide and they have innovation, however they do not have funding to support. Lastly to the...
One question.
Lastly to you, I would like to lobby. It's not a question, I'm trying to lobby if we could have a desk for the youth that are coming everywhere so that they can go to a central place and be able to present what they have so that we monetize. We're looking at creating jobs through these opportunities that Africa Continental Free Trade Area has brought. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very strong and passionate suggestions. Emily, that first question, and then Mr. Chewe, that last one.
Hello? Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for that question. I'll look at the question from the point of view of the Nigerian creative industry and consumption of our own continental content. And, you know, when we were a bit younger, we didn't know much of the rest of the continent when we were growing up. But suddenly on our screens, we started having Nigerian movies. And up to today, we call them Nigerian movies. Whether they come from Ghana or wherever, we still call them Nigerian movies. And Nigeria is one of the countries in the continent where you can say they are really developing the creative industry, and it is actually contributing to the economy in a significant manner. You have Nollywood now. It is known all over, not only in the continent, even outside the continent. And so we see more and more consumption of local content from the continent, even in other parts of the continent. The same with South African movies. And I remember at one point when I was still at the East African Community and Secretariat, and we were looking at the different broadcasting institutions that were broadcasting in the continent or providing programs. And one of the key elements that had to come in, and at that point it was with DSTV, was that they had to have local content in their programs. And you know, for East African community, when we talk East African community, we say it has to be local content from one of the East African countries. So 30% or 40% of the programming had to be from the region, and it had to be implemented. So there is ways that government can also make sure that content from the continent is actually broadcasted in terms of the rules and regulations that they provide. So yes, we can be able to change perception and have local content. Look at our local music, if we may put it that way. It has been able to cross borders. It has been able to, you have Davido? Yes, Davido. You know, was it sometime last year, one of my younger nieces told me, oh, you know, there is Davido coming into town, you should make sure. I said, who is Davido? You know, because of the age gap. And so they had to even explain to me the music, the connections, and you know, it actually shows you how the youth are moving in these creative industries. There is what they call collabos, collaboration between musicians in the continent, and that is also working. But how do we ensure that happens? There is also need to look at the movement of persons. There was an example that was given by Timor earlier, where it's easier to get an actor, a Mauritian actor, an Egyptian trying to get a Mauritian actor. It's easier to get that actor from Paris than from Mauritius directly. And that's another African country. So I think there is work that also needs to be done among ourselves to ensure that it's much easier for us to move in the continent and to also be able to provide these services across borders. In some of the countries, when you have a musician coming to perform, they are told they cannot come with their dancers or their crew. And so it becomes very difficult for that actor to actually even be able to have a concert in another country. So how do we ensure that we actually make it easier to also have our young people, our people in general, move from one country to another in the continent and provide these services? In some of the countries, the moment you just say you will do something that is economically viable, you are already charged at the point of entry. So how do we change that? And I think what the president of Zambia said on Wednesday, or was it on Thursday, is very critical. We need to actually remove these barriers in terms of visas to be able to move from one country to another. So yes, as the AfCFTA, we are also working on these different aspects, and also on the intellectual property, as I mentioned earlier, to ensure that we have harmonized policies and that we are able to enforce. Because some of the things the young person Peter asked was, how do we ensure that piracy doesn't take place? We can only do that when we have harmonized intellectual property rights laws and regulations, and then at that point we will then have national enforcement. So if it is in Zambia, then we ensure that the Zambian offices dealing with copyright then protects that creativity, whether it's in terms of patents and whether it's even in terms of geographical indications, all the different intellectual property areas, that we ensure that there is enforcement. And the only way we can do that enforcement is through the national offices that deal with intellectual property. Thank you.
Chewe, 1 minute. One minute. 59 seconds left.
All right, thank you very much. So in response to your question, first things first, it is important that you understand how protection is granted. So one of the requirements for protection of a patent is that it should be novel, it should be new, it should not have been revealed or known anywhere in the world prior to the date of application at the national office. So before you display at any unauthorized exhibition, you have to go to the IP office and file for application. Unfortunately, that's how it works everywhere in the world. So make sure that the young people that you are dealing with are aware of that fact. There are repercussions for not following that. If
30
you don't
seconds.
follow it, it means that you will get protection. How can your young people access our services? We are everywhere in all the 10 provincial capitals, including Kitwe and Livingstone. 12 offices were also available online. Since they are young, they are capable of accessing our services online. I'm on Twitter, but
10.
I don't think I'm available to be found there. They can, however, access PACRA services online, including our social media platforms. I think I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you. Temwa, exactly 45 seconds. You're on the clock.
Okay, thank you very much. There's just one point about, you mentioned about monetization in terms of how we consume, why we are not subscribing to these platforms where you monetize. I think we have to look at models like what MTN is deploying now in Kenya. Our people are hand to mouth every day. If you have a monthly subscription, they might not pay for it. But if he can pay some cents just to consume content on a daily basis, he earns something and he consumes, you find that you have more uptake
20.
in terms of that. So I just wanted to make that brief point in response to the question, that we also need to look at how we are consuming data on digital platforms so that it aligns to our pattern of income generation.
Thank you very much. I want to thank our panelists. Guys, let's put our hands together for our panelists for such an informative panel. Unfortunately, we're time bad, so allow me to thank Mrs. Emily Mburu Ndoria. She's the Director of Trading Services, Investment, Intellectual Property Rights and Digital Trade at the AfCFTA Secretariat. Thank you, Emily. I would like to also thank Mrs. Ama Konadu, Ama for Yeboah. She's a creative entrepreneur, AK Consulting. Mr. Wisdom Kalenga from GIZ Zambia Technical Trade Policy Advisor. Mr. Chewe Peter Chilufya, Deputy Registrar, IP and Patents in Zambia. And lastly, Mr. Temwa Gondwe, Director, Intra-Africa Trade and Export Development, Creatives and Diaspora. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for a very insightful panel. I will allow you to leave the stage and enjoy the last session for the day. Gentlemen and ladies, we have 10 amazing innovators. I'm really, really looking forward to this session that are going to be presenting to us briefly. They're going to share with us what they've been working on or what they hope to be working on. So if you have some loose change, want to invest in an African startup that may take over the continent, please be braced for that. We'll be coming to you with that in the next 5 minutes. For now, stretch your legs, share a card, a business card, and find out your neighbor's name.
I don't know how I met you. Because of you, I'm successful. Oh, you belong to me, but your body blow my mind. Tell me what you like. Oh, you belong to me, but Kale Sankurusa inendiwe peace of mind. Follow me, go, touch me, hold me. You belong to me, baby. Kale Sankurusa inendiwe peace of mind. Follow me, go, touch me, hold me. You belong to me, baby. Silivuna kugona gawilo. Angu muselo, always on my mind. Tell me what you like. Silivuna kugona gawilo. Angu muselo, always on my mind. Tell me what you like. Nigga, who's that baby? Follow me, go, touch me, hold me. You belong to me, baby. Nigga, who's that baby? Follow me, touch me, hold me. My light, my baby. Pushe, do you know that you will wake up my love? Ooh, is on the villa, then is a go combatila. Come on, to come, Munga Cinderella. Is it an answer? Not you hope, Walala. When they say, hope, Walala. Never 5 and 4, 3, 2. I was watching Tick and Abani when number 1. Natty baby, Ona, Tima, so. Kales and Kurusa, in the weapons of my head. Follow me, go. Touch me, hold me, you belong to me, baby. Kales and Kurusa, in the weapons of mine. Follow me, go, touch me, hold me, you belong to me, baby. Silivuna kugona gawilo, angu muselo, always on my mind.
1, 2, 1, 2.
The people are starting to leave. Take it.
All right. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Bampata, ejo kansangane kaine. Kabali na opportunity ngakale ine banjipaya. Iwende bae, awe kwenda la mwajilamo. Yose mulanda bali nebo, waila no wacha. Tamunaka inende, usha tamunaka 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 inende, tamunaka tamnaka ukulondolole tamnaka ukulanda baline tamnaka ukulanjimika tamnaka imwe tamnaka nefyabuvi tamnaka no mongulu wenu nine lyonse patopiki tamnaka imwe ati ndine ule ndabani magona pano kaili busolo labani bonse silisebenzesa katundu yanu apa ine ndinave prisoni ndinave prisoni oke ndinave prisoni ndinave prisoni abampata echo kansangane kaine kabali na opportunity ngakale ine banjipaya iwende bae awe kwenala mwachilamo yonse mulanda bali nebo waila no bacha tamunaka inende usha tamunaka 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 inende usha tamunaka
nanomba tamula nenuka mwadikwatisha energy nikutiuza konga munaona mo benefit yoni zolola bali murwadika ege singatebuka bolala ngatabapo kumeleki life yandilava stress anolaika na besa alendela pesa bushi hapa ni blessa kudala tezocheza panambo tiflesha data yonse munayo paline ni chilemba tusafaizira fyeruse maiti maparo ni bufe no mubwerela luve nakosa mukati na kunse mwe bakulu bonse mula tupangira mapungwe mulomo mulinu ndipo ma enemies batu muno chalo ni kyu machana rinyu na divifuma mofulu nyumba nga renti riyu I don't need you
echo kansangane kaine kabali na opportunity ngakale ine banjipaya niwende bae awe kwenala mwachilamo yonse mulanda bali nebo waila no wacha tamunaka inende usha tamunaka tamunaka tamunaka
hands together for Lucius Ndalama from Malawi with a Zaulimi app.
Thank you. Lucius Ndalama. I'm the innovator behind Zolimap. So, Zolimap is an Android application that helps farmers, extension officers, and agri-SMEs to find production information as well as market linkages. It aims at solving the problem of farmers using unstructured markets, as well as farmers not having market information. When you open Zolimap, you're going to find good agricultural practices information on selected crops, livestock, and agroforestry. You're also going to find how you can turn your farming into a business. You're also going to find a marketplace, as well as commodity prices from commodity exchanges in Malawi. The key features you're going to find in Zolimap, it's multilingual. It's both in English as well as in Chichewa, as well as the audios. The production information is available offline. There is live feed of commodity prices. There's a digital marketplace, as well as for those who don't have smartphones, they can easily just text a number and the information will be found in the marketplace. We'll also leverage the use AI so that people can ask questions as well as upload images in order to find information. And currently, we're working on a payment integration for the marketplace. On impacts, so far, Zolimap app has had in Malawi, where we have over 59,000 users across the country. We have 100 plus monthly listings through SMS, and we have had success stories where people are now able to negotiate when they get to the price, since they know the prices of different commodities, as well as the app is being used mostly by the youth. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation and for that innovation. Just a quick question on my end or from the panel is how do you ensure farmers in rural or low literacy areas can effectively use the platform? Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. Even though there is a low usage of smartphones in the rural areas, you still find out that out of 10, you still find 2 or 3 people with a smartphone. Now we are leveraging those people to be able to help the others who don't have a smartphone to get the information. Thank you.
Another hand clap for Lucius. 59,000 farmers so far impacted. Let's put our hands together for JC from Ghana with Zuputo.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jessie, and if you scan this QR code, by the time I'm done with this presentation, you will be able to get a contract or get your IP registered in Ghana or even book to speak to a lawyer. So my name is Jessie, and my company is Zuputo. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Zuputo. And what Zuputo does is we simplify legal and compliance solutions for businesses and individuals and startups across Africa. So one of the challenges, thank you. Much clearer now. So Zuputo simplifies legal and compliance solutions for SME startups across the continent, so they are able to thrive, not just in their home countries, but across all 54 countries on the continent. Now, we know that economic growth is very pivotal for development. And because of the AfCFTA, legal infrastructure is very crucial to expansion. The challenge, however, is that Africa has a very fragmented legal system. 54 countries, 54 different legal systems. Cross-border trade requires that you trade with country-specific legal agreements, legal documents, register with different regulatory agencies, have different compliance knowledge, and legal services are very expensive and are not tailored for SMEs, usually for bigger companies. And over 60% of employment comes from SMEs in Africa, but legal services are not tailored for them. So that's how we come in at Zuputo. Our solution is a web app, which is currently functional. If you scan the QR code, you can play around on it. We are a digital legal platform tailored for African SMEs. We automate simple contract drafts that have compliance with local laws in specific countries. So you can get an employment agreement specific to Ghanaian law, Nigerian law, Kenyan law, South African law. We assist with IP registration, company registrations, to make sure that companies and SMEs are protected in their dealings. We also provide access to a network of vetted legal professionals across the continent. And finally, we provide reminders on regulatory filings, saving thousands in penalties and late filings. We are tech-driven, we are affordable, accessible, and more importantly, we are Africa-focused. So far, in fact, we've supported over 100 SMEs. We have over 75 localized templates on our web app now. We are operational in Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa, and expanding across the continent, hopefully in a few years, across all 54 countries. And we have facilitated cross-border deals between Ghana and Nigeria, currently in the process of facilitating one between Ghana and Ivory Coast. And we've worked with hubs and incubators in West Africa like MEST, MDF. We have partners like the Tony Elumelu Foundation, the Harvard Business School, and we've worked with Standard Chartered Women in Tech. Okay. Thank you so much. Questions?
Ladies and gentlemen, let's just give her another round of applause. I think she deserves it.
Don't forget to scan the QR code and play around on the app.
Yes, thank you, Jesse, for the very passionate presentation. I think when you speak about legal services, also there's a knowledge gap, because most of the creatives that are in within the continent might not even know that they need IP protection. So can you talk about how you're going to close this knowledge gap, and what sort of strategies do you have in mind to actually close on this gap?
Right, so this is a problem we've encountered in the markets that we are operational in. So we explain to them, we usually have outreaches, webinars, in-person events, explaining to them that if they want to be able to scale across borders, they'll have to have important structures in place. Otherwise, they would want to bring in investment, and why they should register and protect their IP. We realize that they are more willing to comply than not. So we have local outreaches, we have webinars, we have important in-person events. We partner with accelerators, like I said, and hubs, telling them the importance of the important structures for every businesses if they want to scale and not just be mom and pop shops. Okay.
Thank you, JC. Marketing 101 class there from JC. I saw our brothers from Kenya with a continental trade. This could be a solution for them, legal techways. There are some devices that have been given to you. One of our innovators will be presenting in French later on. And so French is on channel 2. For now, our next presenter
I'm
is...
fine, thank you.
Yes, Manuela, we got you. It's Saturday, people. Let's put our hands together from the man from Tanzania. with Leo ni Leo.
Hello. Hi, my name is James David. I'm representing Leo Leo. In agriculture, for those people working in agriculture, they know that agriculture supply chains are very big, and with a lot of people who are players in this, the value chains. Now, the challenge is most of these players are not interlinked and not connected. Then this causes information gaps that has been leading to losses and in both market and financial inefficiency. Next. So assume this. You are here in Lusaka. You can take your phone and then look to the Makola market in Ghana, how much tomato is being sold, how much potato is being sold. The same thing you can do in Sokoko in Tanzania. So what Leo Leo has created is to provide real-time market prices across multiple local markets. Now, why is it important? To increase the bargaining power of farmers, to help them in planning, and also help agro-traders determining the supply and demand gaps. And also, with a powerful AI, we can also do predictive analysis. Next. So our solution, as you can see it, whereby the previous slide you have seen these hardworking women. So we found that these women do not have access to keep their records. So we created the local vendor whereby they can keep their daily records. And also through the market, we connected market connectivity whereby they can call or text in order for them to do business. And also we have incorporated the disbursement portal whereby payments are done through the application. Next. Traction. So far we have more than 2,500 users, 80% are women and youth, and we are doing monthly disbursement 184 on monthly basis, and our revenue ranges on $2,000 USD. Next. Thank you. That is Leo Leo.
Thank you, Leo Leo. I'm interested also to find out how your platform integrates with the similar other platforms that could be there in other countries.
Yes.
And also particularly how you are ensuring that you are protecting the small-scale farmers from abuse in terms of how they benefit from their products. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Number one, Leo Leo it has integrated, it is also open to work with other systems out there. And I can give an example because we are working with traders, and most of the challenge of the traders is in the warehouse, whereby we found that there is gatekeepers in the warehouse. So for us, we created a warehouse management system, but also we are integrating with other warehouse management system. And also we are very open to work with other systems out there because it is easy information, as long as these systems or the application in other countries will be prevailing for us to work with. And also on the side of the farmers we are helping them. Number one is to make this information. A farmer who is very interior does not know what is happening in the market. So with the help of this information that we are providing, and in Tanzania we had a very big challenge, which I'm lucky that this year we have solved, is the USSD. The pricing is so high, whereby only the license of USSD is 5,000 USD. This is a lot. So we have negotiated with the institution that is managing this. It is called TCLA, and they have given us a wave of using free USSD in order to make sure this price information reach to the interior of the farmers. Thank you.
Asante sana, James. Reminder, channel 1 for English. Our next presenter is going to be presenting in French. Over to you, Manuela.
Thank you very much. So, sorry for the inconveniences. I would be speaking in English today. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chuteng Manuela from Cameroon. So, I actually prepared my presentation in English. Sorry to disappoint you. So, I am here to present one of the determinant solutions in order to facilitate African intertrade. And this solution came along as we know most of the micro and small medium enterprises use mobile wallets instead of banks simply due to their simplicity, accessibility, and also their affordability. But now, how do they manage to use these mobile wallets across the African continent? So to cater to this issue, I came up with a quick link, which is a media through which a B2B digital payment platform through which suppliers across the African continent could get paid by business owners, same in the African continent, using a unified value integrated payment system, such as the PAPS, which is already existing and currently the single one on the market. So next slide, please. So in order to illustrate how our platform would be working, so you have a business owner in Ghana willing to pay his supplier in Kenyan shillings. So he simply opens his application, send the equivalent of the payment of the amount of money the Kenyan supplier is requiring for, sends the money in his own currency. QuickLink connects through the PAPS platform, and PAPS ensures that both central banks get to agree on the change of the money, the value of the money in each country instantly, and the supplier is able to receive his money, and both parties get notified about the payment. Next slide, please. Now you may ask yourself, how different are we from the already existing platforms? So basically, we are focused on B2B, majorly the micro, small, and medium enterprises. We also are trying to get out of the foreign exchange market. So the exchange is done directly by the integrated value payment system in the local currencies of the continent. And we also foster operability between both the banks, the mobile money wallets, and the fintechs existing on the continent. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the very elaborate presentation. I just have a question in terms of, when you're talking about payments, we have a network of other businesses, small businesses that form the agency network that mobile wallets are running from. So how are you bringing them on board, and how are they able to also participate in this initiative of enabling cross-border payments through mobile wallets?
So thank you very much for this question. In order to get these mobile wallets operators on board, we are going to go into the market. We are going to directly go and speak to them and make sure they are aware of the existing opportunities across the continent, and that these opportunities have been facilitated for them through our payment platform. Hope this answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Another hand clap for Manuela. Merci beaucoup. Our next startup is We Are Flow by George Kichuhi from Nairobi, Kenya.
Thank you. Good morning once again. My name is George Kishuhi, and I want to engage your mind a bit. Imagine as a business owner, being able to pay your employees on time, other bills, and even beyond that, pay your child's school fees on time. Why? You don't have to wait for the 30 to 90 days that a lot of SMEs have to wait for to be paid out of trading with bigger brands. And why? It's because AfCFTA exists. One of the biggest problems that SMEs struggle from in Africa is delayed payments which affect their cash flow. This has other consequences that are making these businesses not be able to run their businesses efficiently. And on the other side, we have financial institutions that they rely on that are also not very well equipped to finance them. And that is why AfCFTA exists, that we've built a digital innovation that is able to convert outstanding receivables in terms of the invoices into instant cash, that you are able to keep your business running without worrying, when will my next payment come in? But even beyond that, we are looking at, within a year, just to validate our solution, we've been able to push over $1 million, and this is just the beginning, since we are piloting also in other markets. Please give me the next slide. And we've simplified our platform in such a way that using various AI tools that we've integrated internally, that SMEs can be able to simply come, upload your invoice. Once the verification is done with who you've traded with, especially the bigger brands, you are able to receive up to 80% of the financing. And after that, the worry around collection is not yours. We will be collecting on your behalf. Next slide, please. But also beyond that, our business model is supporting other SMEs, so we are very B2B, and we price our services based on the invoice terms, if it's 30 days, 60 days, to 90 days. Beyond that, we provide much more value because we know SMEs don't only need financing, they need visibility around how are their payments coming in, what are the statements that are due, and we provide these SMEs with tools that are able to help them build a database that even on the long run, they can be able to use these data to be able to access much more financing, because we know businesses need different aspects of capital. But even beyond that, we are moving and saying that we are building more value within the invoices by securitizing them using capital markets in various countries that we'll be expanding to, so that we have more cash coming in into SMEs to be able to ensure that they are scaling but also unlocking their potential. We look forward to having more of you join our journey. You're welcome to scan our QR code on our platform, that you are able to interact with us and see what potential synergies we could be able to create, and we are ready for business.
Thank you so much, George, for that presentation. I love the energy that has come from the crowd to you, so thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
I have a question. So the question is, how do you assess and manage credit risk, especially for SMEs and informal suppliers with limited credit histories? And also, like in terms of partnerships, what partnerships are key to sustaining and scaling your platform? Thank you.
Thank you. So we know that data, everyone has data. The issue is it structured, organized data? So those are things that we look beyond your financials. What else do you have? For example, if you've been trading with Coca-Cola, for how long have you been supplying them for services? So we finance these SMEs not just on their reputation, but also on the reputation of who they sell to and the behavior of that. Are they a critical service provider to Coca-Cola? Have they been getting paid for the last 6 months? So we use various alternative data to be able to ensure that that is taken care of. But beyond that, also start with very smaller limits and increase that even as they build much more better credit profile. But beyond that, we know that we cannot be able to meet the demand of these SMEs on our own. That's why we've partnered also with other financial institutions by embedding our platform into their operations, such that a bank does not need to have clerks going through invoices. We have that already being taken care of, and we support them to be able to serve SMEs much more faster, because that's one of the biggest challenges that bigger financial institutions struggle with into providing better turnaround times when it comes to access to financing. And beyond that, like for example, we have a big partner, Diamond Trust Bank in Kenya, among other alternative financiers, that they've seen value in what we are doing, and now we are piloting with them to be able to serve more businesses. Thank you.
Another hand clap for George, guys. $1 million in less than a year, that is good business. Our next startup is Sophie Arinder from Uganda.
I hope I'm clear. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Arinda Sophie from Kampala, Uganda. So I would like you to consider two scenarios. One is an informal trader who is, according to statistics, is most likely a woman who buys her products. She sells, she has a stall at the Busia, Uganda border market, but she shops her products, let's say in this case tomatoes, from the Ugandan side to restock her stall. So as she brings her products, she has to conform to the Kenyan food safety standards. So when she reaches at the border, since she's informal, she lacks formal documentation, and she does not have any idea on the standards that she has to conform to, or how to conform to them. So another scenario is an MSME trader, a normal trader, let's say in Kenya, who exports his maize to South Sudan, maize flour. So the importer in South Sudan believes that the maize coming from Kenya conforms to the Kenyan standards, but then also has to do another testing in South Sudan. And all this product faces manual inspections at the border, which leads to border delays. In both scenarios, these people are encountering losses and delays. So, next slide. So I am proposing a solution called the Pan-African SPS Compliance Cross-Border Trade Management System, which simplifies, automates, and harmonizes the SPS control standards. So my system has 3 core functionalities. One is the automation of the simplified trade regime, which simplifies the informal small-scale cross-border trade process. We provide both online and USSD solutions, also to cater for the informal traders who cannot access smartphones. We also automate the inspection and clearance at the points of entry. Here we digitize the inspection procedures to remove the manual processes. We also assist in the faster clearance of compliant, conditionally released, or rejected products at the border to minimize on the border delays. Then we also have an SPS early warning and rapid response system, which uses machine learning and artificial intelligence to provide predictive analytics to predict food contamination, plant and animal disease outbreaks, and also when an alert, a risk has been identified, it suggests coordinated responses to be undertaken. So, next slide. So the key benefits of the system, it enhances transparency, especially through the SPS early warning, because under the World Trade Organization SPS agreement, countries are expected to alert their trade partners on potential risks. It also formalizes the informal trade through providing a digital solution for these informal traders to also be recognized by the government. It harmonizes the SPS standards and procedures and safeguards the food security with the predictive analytics from the SPS early warning. So the impact that we predict that this solution will bring, it will reduce the border delays, it will reduce the clearance time, since we are using solely, we are digitizing the procedures to clear the compliant, conditionally released, and rejected products, and also cuts compliance costs. It will lower the product rejections through the early warning. For example, if, let's say Botswana, that is dealing in meat with, this is an example, with Zambia, So if there is an outbreak of foot and mouth disease in a certain region of Botswana, Zambia does not have to reject all meat products coming from Botswana. But based on the SPS early warning, Zambia can instead say, what we can do is increase the inspection at the border, but still allow for products, maybe rejecting the ones from a specific region of Botswana. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have no questions for you. Thank you.
Very empathetic and practical solution, real-time solution. Our next startup is from Zimbabwe. Let's put our hands together for Lorraine.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So inter-African trade remains low in Africa because of key trade barriers, which include fragmented trade systems, lack of access to real-time market data, lack of trade finance, and language barriers. But however, the key trade barriers will not be a problem for long, because I believe that TradeSmart has the solution to reduce some of the impacts being caused by the trade barriers. So TradeSmart is a one-stop digital trade platform that promotes direct selling and eliminates key trade barriers. It offers a suite of 10 interoperable modules integrating compliance automation, partner vetting, ESG scoring, trade financing, and virtual product showcases into one seamless experience, accessible via web and mobile app. Next slide, please. So I will quickly take you through how it works. So first, there is the onboarding and verification stage. At this stage, at TradeSmart, we prioritize to be in line with the law, especially KYC laws, and also ESG principles to promote corporate social responsibility. So at this stage, traders get to submit their verification documents, and also it's optional for them to submit their ESG processes documentation, which will be useful for ESG scoring and sustainability scoring. The next stage, okay, at this stage also, we also try to be inclusive, as we want also to reach the underserved market. That is the people in the rural areas, and we do so by implementing the USSD, that even if they do not have smart mobile phones, they can still get the chance to register online and also get real-time trade insights through the messages. So moving on to the next stage. Moving on to the next part, there is the market discovery and partner match. In this process, we tried to integrate our system with AI in order to speed up the discovery part and the partner matching part by making sure that the AI helps in market focusing and opportunity matching, and also helps to filter regulations. For instance, customs duties applicable in different countries. The third part is the smart contract and trade financing stage, whereby traders are able to bid, quote, and negotiate the terms of their contracts. And soon after that, they'll be able to automate the contracts that they want. And also, the contract will also come with an explanation of the terms of the contracts in the languages that they prefer, so that they all get to know what they are signing, what they are getting into. In case of those who need financing, let's say I am a trader and I want to buy solar panels from, let's say, Tanzania to Zimbabwe, and I want to buy solar panels, and I'm short of money, and the minimum order quantity is maybe 2,000 USD, no, 2,000 products, and I only have 1,000. I'll be able to list on the platform in order to attract green finance investment through carbon offsetting, which is currently, let's say, trending because of the issues in relation to climate action. Anyway, if unable to acquire green finance, they will also be partner financial consultants and microfinance institutions who will be willing, because of the ESG scoring, it improves their visibility, will be willing to provide them with funding, maybe debt or equity funding. And then the last stage is the execution stage. We also partner with logistics companies to make sure that the buyers receive their products safely, and they will be monitored and be tracked all the time. Okay, next slide. So basically, TradeSmart is trying to present to SMEs a one-stop trade platform, which encompasses everything. That means it improves the speeding up of processes, and then access to trade finance. And the good part is that all our modules are interoperable. They support interoperability, so they'll be able to integrate in various systems. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Because of time, the judging panel doesn't have any questions at the moment. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lorraine. Guys, have you ever met a founder who just knows so much about what they're doing? That's Lorraine. She really, really broke that down well. Allow me to introduce the next startup. That's Brian Wamkota from Kenya.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Wamkota, a food systems expert. I want to engage you a bit. In Africa, we have over 250 million small-scale farmers, mostly women and youth, who are disconnected from real-time market information, access to affordable finance, and logistics. This infringement causes Africa or the smallholder farmers to lose low incomes and also post-harvest losses and untapped potential for young people. At Agribiz, we are coming up with a digital platform where agripreneurs can access verified markets, integrated logistics, and also access to affordable finances. This is how the dashboard of the platform looks like. If you are a producer, you can log in under the inputs. You share with us or you upload what you are having. It's GPS enabled. We'll be able to locate where you are. If you are selling something, you can also share there. We are also solving the issue of aggregation, whereby smallholder farmers, mostly they want to trade with institutions. For example, you got a tender to supply cereals in a school, but because you are one producer, you are producing 10 bags, but the school is requiring you to maybe share 100 bags, you can come up 10 farmers, come together, you aggregate, and you service that tender. Another service we are offering also is the training capacity. For example, in Kenya, we have an institution called KALRO. KALRO stands for Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization. They have over 32 value chains already researched and documented. You want to collaborate with them on how we can reduce those research into little bites that we can share as small videos that our farmers can learn and improve their agriculture. Next. My value proposition today, I stand before you, is access to affordable finances, and I'm solving that through the already existing informal solution that our young women and youth have. We are calling them Village Savings and Loaning Association. Why am I saying affordable? With Village Savings and Loaning Associations, the groups get to determine the amount of interest they'll charge among themselves. So we want to transfer it from formal to informal to formal by making it paperless and seamless, because it's risky for you, for example, as a treasurer of a group, to have, let's say, 10 million of members' money in your house. They have security concern. It's also time wasting for you. Let's say it's a Wednesday, you need to go and give your contribution, to waste an hour or some minutes to go to the house of the treasurer to give that. So to me, we want to offer this solution to our already existing women farmers and youths. They can use the platform to integrate it. Number two, also for security reasons, we intend to partner with banks, whereby we link the VSLA app to the bank of their choice so that they can transfer that money to a very secure bank to solve that. Next. So the target users. For starters, we are targeting 50,000 small-scale farmers. 60 of them, we are targeting women and youths. One might ask, why women and youths? In Africa, 70% of the food produced is done by our women. So it's important to incorporate them. We are talking about, for example, 5% of the Eastern Africa community market as our start point. Then, in terms of expected impact, we are talking about 30% increase in cross-border trade. We are talking about over 5,000 employment created among youth in agribusiness. And finally, through the VSLA app, which I told you is by value proposition, we are talking about over 15 million USD facilitated microloans and savings through the platform. Thank you.
We won't be taking any questions from the judges. Moving forward, we'd like to invite our last startup, all the way from Accra, Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together.
Bonjour à tous. Je suis Yannick Nyawa. Je viens de la Côte d'Ivoire. Je suis très content d'être ici. Merci pour votre hospitalité. Comme vous pouvez le constater, je suis le responsable commercial de la société Easy Chain qui propose un service de cabotage maritime. Quel est le problème que nous essayons de résoudre? Next. Nous avons constaté dans l'exercice de nos fonctions à Easy Chain que le commerce intra-africain n'est pas optimal. Jusqu'au jour d'aujourd'hui, en dépit de toutes les choses que nous avons à partager entre nous Africains, c'est seulement 15% de ce que nous possédons que nous partageons entre nous. Donc le commerce intra-africain est véritablement faible. Il est en comparaison à celui de l'Europe qui est à 68%. Ici en Afrique, nous n'arrivons pas à partager toutes les marchandises que nous avons. Et donc, ce que nous constatons aussi, c'est que ce commerce-là, il coûte cher. Commercer de façon internationale coûte cher. Il est polluant et il est lent. Donc, la solution que nous proposons, next. La solution innovante que nous proposons, c'est une plateforme numérique qui permet de faire des réservations en ligne et qui permet de faire le suivi des marchandises du point d'origine jusqu'au point de destination. Donc c'est une plateforme qui est assistée par l'intelligence artificielle qui permet de faire le suivi, la réservation en ligne. D'un autre côté, pour des raisons écologiques, pour des raisons de réduction de coûts du transport maritime, nous avons choisi une solution écologique qui est un bateau à voile à propulsion éolienne qui permet de réduire le taux de CO2 de 5000 tonnes par an. Donc c'est une solution innovante qui nous permet de réduire non seulement le coût du transport, de rendre accessibles les marchandises qui permettent le commerce interne au niveau des pays africains. On va commencer d'abord par les pays ouest-africains.
Checking, and we have so far on monthly basis $30,000 in terms of we have also about $50,000 to fund our activities. As you can see, we have partners who are supporting us to get into the market and for us to operate. So you can see our application is available. We have actually more than 500 clients who are active. Our partner, the Bank, Western African Bank of Development, is very much interested to our project. There is a study on course for supporting us. Our logistical partner, Africa Global Logistics, is going to give us that ship of a capacity of 100,000 tons per month. So this, in a nutshell, this is a solution that we are proposing, a digital platform to easy transport for goods, intra-African goods, and also we have also a ship that is going to allow to reduce the price, not only the price, to reduce the price also, and facilitate access for big enterprises or small exporters. Thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup Yannick. All innovators. The journey here wasn't easy. It has taken
slides per person presenting. And before that, we had more than 400 participants from across the whole continent. Ladies and gentlemen, before I hand this over back to Samuel, allow me to once again thank Zambia for hosting us. A hand clap for Zambia. I'd like to thank the AfCFTA Secretariat for putting this together. The support team, the doctors, the nurses, they deserve a special hand clap as well. Better Than Cash Alliance for also helping put this together. And to yourselves for being such a great audience over these past 3 days. And thank you for listening to me, to all the speakers. Samuel, over to you.
Enemies try, them go disappear. Man, I thank God that He blessed. Say my while I don't rest. Every day I did progress. Now Jaja did on my test. That's why I try sometimes. Oh, oh, with a little whiskey and ice. Make I pull my mind. Oh, oh, I just want to live this life. I know they worry you, I know they fear. Anything will come, I go face them, yeah. Oluwa dey my side, so I declare. try, then go disappear. And I thank God that they blessed. Say my while I don't rest. Every day I dey progress. Now Jaja they run my test. That's why I try sometimes. I na 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 ah na. With a little whiskey and ice. I na 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 na. Make I cool my mind. I na 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 na. I na 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 na. Oh, I just wanna live this life. I na 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 na. Oh yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Let's put our hands together once again for Arnold Quizera and the panelists that we had earlier, as well as our innovators. We can do it better, please. Let's put our hands together once again. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we've had wonderful 3 days, doing so much, hearing from His Excellencies, our honorable ministers, distinguished experts, innovators, wonderful audience. We are coming to the end of the entire forum. We're going to have about 30 or so minutes of a closing ceremony, which is as vital as the opening ceremony that we had earlier 3 days ago. I'll be handing over to my co-MC to take over from here. I would only do this request that we all, and I think Arnold started it, we all appreciate the wonderful work that we have done for the past 3 days with the exchanges of ideas on how to move digital trading on the continent of Africa forward, how we integrate our trading across borders, how we encourage our innovators and entrepreneurs to trade digitally across the entire continent. For all the things that we have done here for the past 3 days, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for ourselves. Let's do it better, please. We want to appreciate ourselves for what we have done. And for those who made it possible, quite a number of institutions have made this possible. But there is one huge institution that everybody can see wherever you go. Solid branding, beautiful environment, beautiful settings, putting together all the people that needed to make this happen, all led by one institution. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for the AfCFTA Secretariat. A few people didn't clap for the AfCFTA Secretariat, and I have seen them. I'm still seeing them. So those that I have seen who didn't clap for the AfCFTA Secretariat, we're going to invite you to mention AfCFTA. You come here and mention AfCFTA and tell us why you didn't clap for AfCFTA. Let's put our hands together once again for AfCFTA Secretariat, please. Ladies and gentlemen, closing ceremony about happening. Shall we, with a big round of applause, invite Miss Evanes Nankala. She's the Principal Public Relations Officer, the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, the Republic of Zambia. Let's put our hands together for her, please.
Your Excellencies present, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Evanes Nankala, and I will take you through the rest of the program for our official closing for the AfCFTA Digital Trade Forum 2025. To kickstart, allow me to recognize the people in this room. His Excellency, Mr. Wamkele Mene, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry of the Republic of Zambia, Honorable Chipoka Mulenga MP, the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the beautiful Honorable Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry of Zambia, Honorable Felix Mutati MP, the Minister of Trade and Industry of Rwanda, Honorable Prudence Sebahizi, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Mrs. Lillian S. Bwalia, High Commissioners and Ambassadors present in this room today, representatives of both regional and international organizations present in this room, captains of industry, entrepreneurs, and the amazing innovators from across Africa that we saw giving us beautiful presentations on their innovations. Delegates present, friends from the media, good afternoon. We've had an amazing 3 days of packed presentations, packed panel sessions that will see the African continent shift from how we conduct trade and ensure that everything is done on a digital scale. You will agree with me that everybody came to Zambia ready, they did their best, they delivered, and a round of applause for everyone for an amazing job. To quickly kickstart this official closing ceremony of the Ladies and gentlemen, we shall hold on a little bit for the ministers that will shortly walk into the room, and I would just request that as they walk in, we'll all stand to receive them. In as much as this is the closing ceremony, I'm sure we networked, we got business cards, and we shall continue with the conversations even after today. We shall continue engaging, we shall continue talking to ensure that we see ways on how we can better the African continent and ensure that trade on a digital scale continues to improve for the continent. One thing I might say is pronouncing AfCFTA was a challenge for me. But after 3 days of hearing people pronounce it, I decided to shift. The best way for me to work around this was to say African Continental Free Trade Area. But I kept on admiring people that were saying AfCFTA without any issues and just smooth. So after these 3 days, I can confidently say that I can say AfCFTA without issues anymore. Who can say AfCFTA without issues anymore like me? I'm just here bragging and so proud of myself because it's been amazing of hearing African people correctly say AfCFTA. I can even say it fast now, so you can clap for me, please. It was a struggle. One thing I which is a take-home thing for me after this, is this forum is not just about different people from different African countries coming together and just speaking and everything else dies in this room. We had discussions, we spoke about things that would help us better how we conduct trade, for a fact that we know that technology is here to stay and we can't run away from it. So we know that the fact that technology is here to stay, we have to leverage on this technology and ensure that we continue to better the African continent. I mean, the AfCFTA keeps bringing ideas that can help the African continent. I urge that we don't just keep everything that we learned here and just forget the notes that we were taking down. We just close our notepads and we forget. Let us be the change that we want to see at the end of the day. Let us put everything that we've learned here into practice and ensure that we are playing a role to ensure that digital trade in the African continent keeps getting better and better each day. We shall have an interlude of music as we wait for our ministers and His Excellency, Mr. Wamkelemene, to make their way into the room. Thank you. Kabali na opportunity ngakale ine banjipaya iwende bae awe kwenda la mwachilamo yose mulanda balinebo waila no bacha tamunaka inende usha tamunaka 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 inende tamnaka okulondolola tamnaka okulanda paline tamnaka okulanjimika tamnaka imwe tamnaka nevyabuvi tamnaka no mungulu wenu nine lyonse patopiki tamnaka imwe ati ndine ule ndabani magona panu kaili busolola bani bonse silisebenzesa katundu yanu apa ine ndinave prisoni okay ndinave prisoni abampata echo kansanganeka ine kabali na opportunity ngakale ine banjipaya iwende bae awe kwenala mwachilamo yonse mulanda balinebo waila no bacha Ladies and gentlemen, shall we all be upstanding for the arrival of His Excellency Mr. Wamkelemene and the ministers that are here today. Ladies and gentlemen, we may be seated, please. His Excellency, Mr. Wamkelemene, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry of the Republic of Zambia, Honorable Chipoka Malenga MP, the Minister of Trade and Investment of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the beautiful Honorable Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, the Minister of Technology and Science of the Republic of Zambia, Honorable Felix Mutati MP, the Minister of Trade and Industry of Rwanda, Honorable Prudence Sebahizi, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Mrs. Lillian S. Bwalia, High Commissioners and Ambassadors present in this room, representatives of both regional and international organizations, captains of industry, entrepreneurs, and innovators present in this room, delegates from different countries present in this room, our dear colleagues from the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon once again, and welcome to the official closing ceremony of the AfCFTA Digital Trade Forum 2025. My name is Evanes Nankala from the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, and I'll be your Director of Programs for this last session of an amazing, insightful, and packed 3 days that we have had in Zambia. In starting this official closing ceremony, we are going to have a presentation of the call to action, the road to success, charting the cost of digital trade under the AfCFTA. And to do that this afternoon, allow me to call upon Honorable Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is also AfCFTA champion on digital inclusion. Honorable Oduwole.
Good morning, everyone. I would have jumped up the stage, but I'm not as young as I used to be. It's been a phenomenal 3 days. Allow me to rest on the very well adumbrated protocols established by our Director of Programs this morning. Just to recognize and congratulate the Secretary General on this inaugural Digital Trade Forum. And on behalf of all of us, thank the government of Zambia, represented here by our 2 honorable ministers, for this impressive outing. Over the last 3 days, the AfCFTA Secretariat, in collaboration with the government of the Republic of Zambia, has hosted the inaugural AfCFTA Digital Trade Forum under the patronage of His Excellency, Mr. H.H., the President of the Republic of Zambia. The forum, yes, I got that, all of you call him President HH. The forum was preceded by practical and thematic masterclasses hosted by the AfCFTA Secretariat and several partners from the 6th to the 7th of May. The theme of this inaugural forum was boosting digital trade to accelerate AfCFTA implementation. The forum brought together heads of states and governments, ministers of trade and ICT, or digital economy, government officials, and private sector, innovators, development partners, civil society, and other stakeholders to deliberate on how to boost digital trade to accelerate the implementation of the AfCFTA, to foster inclusive and sustainable economic growth and prosperity across Africa. Following 3 days of insightful dialogue, collaboration, and forward-looking strategy, it is clear that Africa stands on the brink of a transformative digital era. The discussions reinforced a shared commitment to building a digitally integrated Africa, one where harmonized regulation, robust infrastructure, and empower digital entrepreneurs fuel sustainable growth and intra-African trade. The momentum generated over these 3 days must now be converted into coordinated, decisive action. This call to action captures the key outcomes of the forum and outlines the next steps needed to unlock the full potential of digital trade across Africa. The time to act is now. The call to action outlines 12 actions consistently highlighted during the forum and the masterclasses directed at state parties, policymakers, and the private sector, development partners, as well as the AfCFTA Secretariat. 1. Funding for the Protocol on Digital Trade Implementation. The forum calls on governments to allocate funds from their budgets to support the implementation of the Protocol on Digital Trade, particularly for digital infrastructure development, capacity building, and regulatory reforms. Development finance institutions to provide dedicated funding facilities for the implementation of the protocol by AfCFTA state parties. Regional economic communities and the AfCFTA Secretariat to develop an activity-based work plan to leverage existing incentives on digitization with a view to anchoring reforms on the continental legal framework of the AfCFTA. Governments to leverage private sector expertise and financial resources for specific projects related to digital trade under the AfCFTA. The donor and philanthropy community to provide grants and funding to AfCFTA state parties to support the implementation of the protocol. AfCFTA Secretariat to accelerate the operationalization of the AfCFTA Digital Trade Fund established under the Protocol on Digital Trade. Commercial banks to provide preferential grants and loans to the MSMEs, women and youth in digital trade. AfCFTA Secretariat to explore digital trade-related mechanisms to generate revenue that can be reinvested in further enhancing the digital trade ecosystem. 2, development of an AfCFTA Digital Trade Index. The forum calls on the AfCFTA Secretariat to develop a centralized, real-time, and easily accessible AfCFTA Digital Trade Index with clear KPIs to monitor the progress in the implementation of the commitments of state parties under the Protocol on Digital Trade. 3, establishment of an AfCFTA transactions team or unit. The forum calls on the AfCFTA Secretariat to establish a transaction unit or team to serve as an enabler for the interconnected supply and demand ecosystem, leveraging on digital technologies to ensure that an African buyer and seller connects. 4, driving investment in digital infrastructure. The forum calls on governments to enact and enforce necessary regulations and provide funding, facilitate PPPs for digital infrastructure, and create a conducive legal environment for investment in digital infrastructure. Private sector to invest in and deploy digital infrastructure across African countries. Development finance institutions and commercial banks to provide funding, loans, and grants for digital infrastructure projects. 5, digital public infrastructure for trade. The forum calls on African central banks and commercial banks to join the Pan-African Payment Settlement System and facilitate interoperability of systems across border digital payments by financial technology market players. Governments to domesticate digital trade protocol measures that enable sustained and predictable customs and trade facilitation automation related reforms. Governments to move from one-stop border post to no-stop border post models anchored on protocol on digital trade and through adoption of digital trade corridors or digital highways. The AfCFTA Secretariat to accelerate the protocol on digital trade, including the AfCFTA digital identity. The AfCFTA state parties expedite the operationalization of the AfCFTA digital identity. Governments to enable cross-border interoperability of digital payments and mobile money payments across borders for small-scale traders. 6, support local digital skills and entrepreneurship development. The forum calls on governments to revamp the education system and incorporate digital skills and digital literacy. The AfCFTA Secretariat, in collaboration with partners, to develop and implement programs on promoting digital innovation, digital entrepreneurship, and digital literacy. Governments to launch targeted financial literacy campaigns and establish robust consumer protection frameworks with a focus on empowering women, youth, and informal traders. 7, finalize the outstanding negotiations of the AfCFTA. The forum calls on governments and policymakers to expedite the conclusion of the outstanding negotiations of the AfCFTA, particularly the rules of origin on textiles and automotives, and gazette their tariff schedules. 8, fast-track the domestication of the protocol on digital trade. The forum calls on governments to fast-track domestication of the protocol on digital trade. The AfCFTA Secretariat to provide technical assistance to governments in the domestication process. 9, fostering and strengthening collaboration and partnerships between the public and private sector. The forum calls on governments to identify and prioritize digital trade development areas for PPPs. The private sector to provide technological expertise, innovative solutions, and investment capital. Development finance institutions to provide financing, technical assistance, and expertise in structuring PPPs. The AfCFTA Secretariat identify and facilitate digital trade-related PPPs, including providing technical assistance and expertise in structuring PPPs for digital trade. 10, creating awareness of the protocol on digital trade. The forum calls on the AfCFTA Secretariat and government ministries and other institutions to conduct outreach campaigns, stakeholder consultations, and the development of communication materials to educate businesses and consumers about the protocol on digital trade and encourage their participation in the intra-Africa digital trade. 11, capacity building and technical assistance. The forum calls on the AfCFTA Secretariat and other relevant institutions to facilitate capacity building, technical assistance, or training programs, outcome-oriented workshops, and the development of user-friendly resources to build the necessary skills and knowledge for effective participation in digital trade. And 12, variable geometry implementation of the protocol. The forum calls on governments to implement the protocol on digital trade, prioritizing the most impactful cross-border trade use cases. The AfCFTA Secretariat to support the identification of use cases and pilot projects to facilitate the implementation of the protocol on digital trade. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, as we move from dialogue to delivery, I want to extend my appreciation to all who contributed to the success of this forum. Your insights, ideas, and shared commitment to Africa's digital future have made this past 3 days truly impactful. Let me seize this opportunity to say a special thank you to those of you who joined us at the Nigeria Jollof and Ginger cocktail last night. It was great to unwind and connect and relax and deepen relationships that will drive this work forward. Looking forward, I'm excited to announce our offer to host the next edition of the AfCFTA Digital Trade Forum in the bustling, innovative, and ever-energetic city of Lagos, Nigeria, Africa's commercial heartbeat and hub of digital innovation. I look forward to welcoming you there as we build on this momentum that will shape Africa's place in the global digital economy. Thank you for your kind attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for Honorable Oduwole.
So Lagos.
Yes. With that insightful call to action, allow me to borrow words. The time to act is now. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, allow me to call upon the Minister of Technology and Science of Zambia, Honorable Felix Mutati, to come and give his remarks. Honorable Mutati.
Thank you. Let me also write on the protocols that have been established thus far. For me, the experience in the last 2 days has been quite telling. Seeing the trade ministers tackle the issues that are slowing down the transformation of Africa, articulating the pathways to try and deal with those issues, whether it's regulation, infrastructure, and indeed the mindset. For us as technology, we just commit that to provide the necessary connectivity that can facilitate digital trade across Africa. And you may wish to know that substantially most of Africa is connected by fiber. You may wish to know that we are ahead of ministers of trade from an infrastructure perspective. So we'd want to urge the ministers of trade to learn from us, particularly with regard to implementation. And the word that I liked was from the minister, the co-chair, is that we need to move from dialogue to action and to outputs. But in order to do that, we also need to have a tracking mechanism on the issues that we have agreed upon today, so that when we meet in Nigeria, we'll be able to tick some boxes. Has this been done? Has that been done? That way, we'll begin the journey to transform the lives of the ordinary African boy and girl. And that's what trade is all about. I thank you.
I don't know how I met you. Because of you, I'm successful. Oh, you belong to me, but your body blow my mind. Tell me what you like.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for those remarks. And now it is my singular honor to call upon His Excellency, Mr. Wamukele Mene, Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat, to address us.
Thank you very much, Madam Program Director. Let me start by once again expressing our profound appreciation to the government and the people of this great country for hosting us over the last few days, and I hope honorable ministers will convey to His Excellency the President our appreciation over the last few days for the hospitality that was extended to us, and of course the facilities that enabled us to have a successful outcome. Second, I want to thank you for your active participation, traveling to Zambia from across our continent to express your view and to direct as to how we should tackle the challenges of our continent, of our time. The AfCFTA Secretariat is deeply committed to ensuring that there's space for Africans to express their views, to take ownership of Africa's economy, that we certainly provide that space across all of the important segments of Africa's economy, whether it is agriculture, digital trade, as well as women and youth empowerment. The call to action that Dr. Oduwole read out is ambitious, bold, forward-looking, and shall require all of us to work together. It is not only the governments that will be able to achieve the transformation that we all want to see. It shall be governments working with the private sector, with youth formations, with civil society, in an inclusive manner to tackle the challenges of our continent. It is not anybody else but us who is going to change our continent. It is not the Americans, it is not the Chinese, it is not the British, it is us Africans who will have to transform our continent. And if you listened very carefully to the remarks of both our heads of states during the opening session, the very clear directive that they gave us is that we must implement the decisions that we take. And that's why the call to action is so very important. Some of the critiques of the protocol on digital trade, even though it is the first of its kind around the world, some critics say it shall not be implemented, that Africans don't have a history of implementing their decisions. Well, I can assure you that with the support of our leaders, the support of the co-champions, Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya, we are determined to make sure that this protocol is implemented not just from a legal point of view, which of course is important, but to create opportunities, to encourage innovation, to ensure that young entrepreneurs are able to trade at cost-effective rates. A number of aspects in the protocol address this issue of youth entrepreneurship in a number of provisions. On payments, we spoke about it yesterday, the protocol establishes a regulatory environment for a Pan-African, seamless, interoperable payment system to reduce the cost of trade on our continent. As I mentioned, it is not acceptable that we as Africans spend $20 billion annually transacting on SWIFT. It is entirely unacceptable. It is entirely unacceptable that we spend $5 billion buying a foreign currency so that we can trade in Africa. It is not acceptable. What is it that the United States dollar, the euro, or any other currency, what has it got to do with two African countries trading? Absolutely nothing. So we've got to be very clear that we are not just implementing a protocol from a legal perspective, but we are undertaking far-reaching reforms that will ensure and buttress the sovereignty, the economic sovereignty of our continent. Another example that I may cite as I close, which is a practical response, the issue of movement of data. In the protocol on digital trade, movement of data is now permissible across the continent. And what does that mean for a young entrepreneur, for a smallholder farmer? Well, it means that we now have an opportunity to commercialize our data, to establish data centers, to ensure that we build our own streaming platforms in Africa, to build data centers that will power AI and ensure that our economies continue to be competitive. That's what, in practice and in practical terms, that's what it means when we say we must allow data to transcend our borders. Why is it that when I'm watching football, I use a streaming platform that takes my money somewhere else? Why is it that when we are trading, we use platforms that take us somewhere else? We may as well pack our bags, travel to Seattle, transact in Seattle, and then return to Africa. So this issue of commercialization of data and creating opportunities is at the heart also of the provisions of the protocol that our heads of states have adopted. We shall require redoubling of ambition. We shall require redoubling of commitment, redoubling of determination to make sure that all of these ambitious goals that have been expressed in the protocol, that they do indeed become a reality. The youngest population in the world is in our continent. A very interesting fact which you may know, which underscores this point, half of the population of Liberia is less than 30 years old. Half of the population. And this is reflective of the entire African continent. And so when the IFC tells us that their projection is that by the year 2050, Africa's combined contribution to the digital economy will exceed 8%, and that Africa's digital economy will be in excess of 710 billion United States dollars. That's a very positive projection. It shall, however, not become a reality if we don't overcome the digital fragmentation that exists. And so, my comrades and friends, we have a call to action to implement. We have a lot of work to do. each and every one of you in this room has a very important role to play in ensuring that this vision that we expressed over the last 2 days, that it becomes a reality. We create jobs in our continent. We create innovation in our continent. We create competitiveness in our continent so that young Africans stop dying and being buried deep in the oceans of the Mediterranean as they seek better opportunities elsewhere. And so the challenge is out there. The challenge is out there for all of us in the implementation of this agreement, not just the honorable ministers of ICT, of trade, government, secretariat. The challenge is on all of us. Yes, we are proud that we were the very first ones around the world to be able to codify into legally binding commitments these aspirations of a digital economy. And we should be proud of that. But the very next step will be the most difficult, the most challenging, and that is implementation. But I believe when we work together, we will be able to achieve these objectives. And so I want to thank you very much for attending, the honorable ministers who have spent the last 2.5 days here. And I very much look forward to seeing all of you next year in Lagos as we take stock of the progress that we would have made since this inaugural forum. I want to thank all of you very much for your attendance. Thank you.
Oh, na, 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 na. Yeah, it's Kingdom Pandemics. I don't know how I met you. Because of you, I'm successful. Oh, you belong to me, but your body blow my mind. Tell me what you like. Oh, you belong to me, but
Thank you so much for those remarks, His Excellency Wamukele Mene, Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat. Your Excellency, allow me to take this opportunity to express gratitude for your leadership and your willingness to collaborate with the Republic of Zambia as your efforts have made this forum a success. Another round of applause for the SJ. At this point, I will call upon the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry of the Republic of Zambia, Honorable Chipo Kamulenga, MP, to address us. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Ministers from Rwanda, Nigeria, and Zambia, His Excellency the Secretary General for the AfCFTA, Wamukele Mene, representatives from different regional bodies in our midst, and international organizations, colleagues from different financial institutions, and academia that are in the midst. Allow me also to recognize a pool of students that have come for the very first time to any international event that is held. To our colleagues, our beloved friends from the media, both private and public institutions, who are very important in taking messages from where we are to the rest of the world, we are very grateful. Excellency Wamukele Mene, your message has been very profound and highlights that which Africa needs to do to change the narrative. Honorable Ministers, we take a leaf from your words and messages. We trade ministers have been challenged by the Minister of Science and Technology to catch up. He has gone ahead to set up the infrastructure All we need to do is make our trade available on the platforms laid for us. Minister, I can assure you we are very aggressive trade ministers. Before you realize, we'll be pulling you. I need to assure the audience that the champions, co-champions of this forum, on behalf of Africa, Zambia, Nigeria, and South Africa, have made a commitment to, on a timely basis, more often than usual, to meet and tick the boxes. And we'll be engaging you, Secretary General, so that we get your technical support to achieve what we want to do. But allow me, on behalf of His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema and President Boko of Zambia and Botswana respectively, who took time to grace this memorable event on its opening session. And their instructions to us were very clear, and those are the reason why I stand here to remind us of what we need to do. Indeed, the call to action has been presented. All I will need to do is to remind us of what we have to achieve. Ladies, in the past few days, or should I say almost a week, you have explored, or we have collectively explored, a wealth of ideas and perspectives, fostering a collaborative environment that will undoubtedly drive positive change for our digital trade agenda here in Africa. Let's continue with this momentum to build on these discussions and shape a future where technology will serve humanity's greatest potential. As you are all aware and may recall, this historic forum has been held under the theme, Boosting Digital Trade to Accelerate AfCFTA Implementation. And the key in this is unpacking the opportunities under the recently launched protocol on digital trade. The protocol is not just a trade agreement, it is a blueprint for Africa's digital future. It represents a significant step forward for Africa's economic integration and digital transformation. Yesterday, I had a brief conversation during a very nice outing, a cocktail that was organized by the Nigerian government through the Minister of Trade. By the way, we enjoyed your jollof. I'm not saying that you're better than the Ghanaians, nor the Senegalese. I'm not the judge. But we enjoyed the jollof. During this cocktail, I had an interaction with two colleagues. One, an advisor to the Nigerian presidents on digital platforms, and the other to the vice president. And I could tell that our friends had taken a step ahead of many other African countries. Digital trade is not something they are envisioning, but it's something they are living. There is no need for us to be shy, to learn from them how best we can lip jump and get to a point where we can make digital platforms a reality. Minister Mtati has done tremendous work when we talk about digital platforms in this country, where we've brought a single service bus system. But it is important that we compare notes and see where Africa can speak from one digital language turntable. Ladies and gentlemen, at this meeting, Zambia takes pride and utmost appreciation for the leadership of His Excellency, Wamkele Mene, who has tirelessly worked with many other private sector, other countries, to allow us to host this event. We don't take it lightly. We sincerely appreciate, and we are very grateful to all of you that took time to come and be a part of us. Your presence uplifted the perception and the narrative of this event. We will continue to be grateful, and we will continue to be collaborative with yourselves, even in the last remaining few hours to some of you, and a day that will stay with us. We wish you the very best. But it is very important that I recall or I resound 3 or 4 important issues that I strongly feel I should send you with as we separate from this place to your respective beautiful countries. At least I've used your countries as beautiful, because the only one that I've been described beautiful here has been my sister. Finally, I've accepted she's my sister. Let me conclude by highlighting the following key messages as my takeaways from this forum. Africa must rise, and our countries should continue to be very productive and coexist to drive the regional integration agenda as emphasized by our 2 heads of state. Like my colleague from Nigeria said, the time to act is now. This was the same message that the 2 heads of state gave us. There is need to set up a transaction team at the CFTA Secretariat that should focus on business linkages to link supply and deficit areas as instructed by our 2 heads of state. I will have to emphasize on this point, ladies and gentlemen. There are many things that are produced in Zambia, but Nigeria imports them outside Africa. Many things that Rwanda is consuming that South Africa is producing. Many things that Togo is producing, but we are getting them outside Africa. What our heads of state said is, can the CFTA have a certain office that looks around Africa and says, do not export this before our neighbor has it. Do not import this outside the region, buy it from your neighbor. It is the only way we are going to stop capital flight. It is one of the ways we are going to trade with each other and grow our abilities to strengthen our economies. So I thought I could emphasize on that point. The other takeaway is the protocol on digital trade remains a precedent that the world will have to learn from. However, the success of the protocol will require countries to achieve a few things. To fully domesticate the protocol and implement its provisions. As Zambia, we concluded the domestication of the AfCFTA agreement in December 2024, and this in turn makes the protocol legally enforceable here in Zambia. Provide incentives for digital products and innovations to catalyze more interest and private sector investment in the digital space. Colleagues and ministers, there is need to provide incentives to digital facilities to attract more investment in this area. And when we talk about attracting investment, yes, we can invest in each other's countries, but we also have to learn from our strategic partners from outside the world and catch up with the technology that they have as our partners. Also bridge the infrastructure gaps by investing in digital infrastructure. Notably, Africa needs about 700 data centers, as has been guided by the Secretary General, and Zambia pledges to mobilize investment to meet at least half of this demand. Ensure that interoperability of data systems between countries is a reality. Secretary General Mkele Mene talked about this and the need why we should stop capital flight in the visa usage. We need to come up with a one payment system that is going to bring the $20 billion we send out within ourselves, which we can in turn use to send our young children into school, invest in our health sector, among many other things. But thinking, while you were speaking, Secretary General, it's not only about having one payment system or common one for Africa. I was thinking about the success of the European Union. In the first few years, they had their challenges because them too were using different currencies to trade with each other. But what solved their problem ultimately was the euro, which is a single currency. SG, it's a challenge, I know, but it can be achieved. let's think about having a single currency for Africa where we trade within ourselves. It is a very important call and request that as trade ministers, we can easily trade within ourselves, between borders and within the region if we focus on a single currency. So we bring this to USG, come up with a facility where we seriously start looking at it to make our ease way of doing business achievable. We need to implement measures to enhance cybersecurity and data protection to protect sensitive data and systems from cyber threats. This will ensure integrity and confidentiality of the border management operations. On this one, Zambia has taken a step, and we are working with our private sector friends from Rwanda to see how we can support our border security, our movement of facilities, goods and services from one border to the next, between one country and the next. We are working collaboratively to achieve this. Lastly, Secretary General and Honorable Ministers, the CFTA Secretariat, we wish to call upon you as Nigeria has offered to host us in the next meeting. We call upon you to report on the progress made, on the resolutions that have come out from this forum at the next forum. Like the Minister of Technology talked about, it's not about reporting theories, but it's about reporting tangible activities. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, here today, the last day of the forum, I wish you the very best. To most of you that are staying closer to this conference hall, not very far from here, just a walkable distance, we have shopping malls out there. My president instructed me, let the Nairas be spent there. Let the Ghanaian currencies, Rwandese currencies, Senegalese, Zimbabwean dollars and everything be left there. You've been working very hard. Yesterday, after the Secretary General treated us to a cocktail, my beloved sister took it up as well and treated us to some nice music. Obviously, she withheld the artists whom we thought she would bring here. But she has said we should still follow them in Lagos. But today as well, we have an event with the courtesy of our Russian colleagues at a club we call the Music Club at the mall. It's starting at 18 hours. Go and spend the fuel of your money there. There will be music from 18 till you get tired. To those of you that will be staying until tomorrow, find time to walk through the streets of Cairo, Great North Road. Learn to interact and make friends as you are here. On behalf of my government, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you and wish you the very best as you travel. Thank you very much.
I don't know how I met you, because of your successful. Oh, you belong to me, but your body on my mind. Tell me what you like. Oh, you belong to me, but Galesa Kurusa in the peace of mind. Follow me, go, touch me, hold me. You belong to me, baby. Galesa Kurusa in the peace of mind. Follow me, go. Touch me, hold me, you belong to me, baby.
That was the Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry of the Republic of Zambia, Honorable Chipoka Malenga, MP. Honorable Minister, we are so grateful for that insightful speech. Ladies and gentlemen, you agree with me that from all the remarks that have been given by our leaders who came up here, one thing is common. We as Africans need each other. We need to collaborate to see the change that we want to see in Africa. At this point, allow me to call upon all the innovators up front for a photo session with His Excellency, Mr. Wamukele Mene. Thereafter, we'll close the session. photo session will take place from
Tell me what you like. Nigga, who's that baby? Let me go, touch me, hold me, you belong to me, baby. Nigga, who's that baby? Follow me, touch me, hold me, you belong to me. My name is Better. Come and could you with my baby? Push all the red and a penny's a cheetah with my baby. Kalama get and is in your malaiti, my baby. Push it, do you know that you will wake up my lover? Ooh, there's only little Dennis I go combatila. Come on, to come on, Shemunga Cinderella. There's a chance on it, not hope, walala. When they say hope, walala. Never 5 and 4, 3, 2. I was watching Tick and Abani when number 1, Natty baby. Bona, Tima, so. Kales and Kusa, you in the weapon, so. Let me go, touch me, hold me, you belong to me, baby. Kales and Kusa, you in the weapon, so.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the dying minutes of our close, allow me to call upon my co-host, Samuel. A round of applause for him as he comes up.
I thought you were actually wrapping it up for us, but since you've called me, let me take the opportunity to say a big thank you to you for the wonderful partnership and for emceeing and partnering with us and use you to represent the people of Zambia, particularly the Ministry of Trade and Commerce.
Commerce, Trade and Industry. Yes.
Commerce, Trade and Industry. There's a lot I have learned from you.
Your Excellency, before he proceeds, when we started this program, I was failing to properly pronounce AfCFTA. And he picked on me the whole time. I just wanted to brag and say I can proudly pronounce AfCFTA without fumbling.
I'm sure everybody else has learned. If you haven't learned, we will still call you and let you learn. But distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have to say a big thank you to the Ministry of Trade and Commerce, Trade and Industry.
For the last time, say it right, please.
The Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
You got that right.
Thank you very much. Of the Republic of Zambia for all the support that the Secretariat of the AfCFTA has had. The Department of Customs, the Department of Trade in Goods, the Communications Department of the AfCFTA. Enormous support from the Republic of Zambia, and we appreciate all the help, and I'm sure that we'll take it up going forward. Also, the leaders who've made this possible. As we move on, all of us, please let's pray for them. They have a lot of work on their head. You have no idea the enormous work that they have to do. Sometimes we see the Secretary General almost every corner of this continent and even beyond, globally, everywhere, one individual bringing the continent together to trade. These people, these leaders need our help. Shall we put our hands together for them once again? On that note, lunch is served. I'm told that it's going to be at the same venue where we had it yesterday. And this time, nobody is missing it. The club that we have in the evening, please don't miss it. If you didn't miss the Nigeria Jollof yesterday, thank God. But if you missed it, you've lost a lot. Even though I'm a Ghanaian, I ate double plates. I'm sorry to admit. Thank you very much, Honorable, for that wonderful. Let's put our hands together for Nigeria once again. Thank you very much, Honorable Ministers, for everything. We thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. We are grateful.
Get and is in your malaiti, my baby.
Uganda bandiwe number one, nati baby, ona fima so.
Kalesa kurusa ine